Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Right on Crime podcast. My name is Nikki Presley. I'm the Texas State Director and Chief of Staff for Right on Crime, and I'm here with Kurt Altman, our Arizona State Director, New Mexico State Director, and leader of our Prosecutorial Innovation Project. Welcome, Kurt.
Nikki, thanks for having me in Austin. It's cool to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here. I always love whenever you come into town and you get to tell me all your hotel stories. So.
There's always a story, it seems. I don't get it. Follows me around.
Of course. Well, I do want to ask you, we've kind of thrown this around a lot, but I think that we have come to a conclusion that there is definitely a difference between a prosecutor who is just being innovative and using their discretion and a prosecutor who is refusing to enforce the law. So I want you to kind of talk about that a little bit from your experience as a prosecutor and how you feel about this notion of rogue prosecutors across the nation.
I mean, that's a pretty heavy and deep question, but there certainly is a difference. I think ultimately, and I think the views and kind of prosecutors have changed a little bit. I think ultimately, and this is my opinion, I don't think it's in a book anywhere, that the prosecutor's job, head prosecutor, elected, all the assistants, whatever, is just to do the right thing, whatever that may be, to keep their community safe. And keep families together. And I think right on crime, we used to say, and save taxpayer money. That'd be awesome too. And that has really changed over the years. I think most people, when I started prosecuting 30 years ago, probably would have been like, yeah, lock them up. That's how you keep people safe. Without taking that next step and understanding that 95% of those people or more are getting out. So what are we going to do when they get out? Should we have put them in? What are other things that can be done to keep the community safe? And I think that's what innovation means in a prosecutor's office now, is thinking, I know that there's people in this room that hate this phrase, but outside the box as a prosecutor, doing things differently than just locking people up. That's part of the job, like some people should be. But creating programs, creating diversion type programs, drug treatment courts, whatever that may be, that helps address the criminal conduct, holds people accountable for criminal conduct, but doesn't scar them for life and enables them to be in society or go back into society and live amongst everybody safely. The rogue prosecutor, as you said, or the people that just erode the rule of law, decide there's a certain class of individuals or there's a certain class of crimes that they're just not going to prosecute. They're not going to hold people accountable for that. That's really the difference. On a minor level, shoplifting under $1,000. There's like anything under $1,000, we're just not going to prosecute it, even though it's a violation of the law that's on the books. That blanket policy does a couple things. One, it doesn't hold those people accountable in any means. And it also very much affects the community. Walmart, you think their prices are going to stay the same if everybody can walk in there, take out $999 worth of goods, and then not be held accountable for it? No. And the people that go shop there, like you and me, are going to pay higher prices. So that's going to affect the community. So that's the difference. Somebody says we're not going to prosecute a certain class of individual or a certain class of crime at all. Doesn't hold anybody accountable. And that's the prosecutor that's not upholding their duty. I just hit the mic too. As opposed to the prosecutor who's innovating and trying to live up to their oath.
Yeah, I was actually in Marshall's the other day, and people came in and left with huge shopping carts full of clothes. So I'm curious what's going on in Austin with shoplifting prosecutions for sure. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. So after somebody has done their time, they have a conviction on their record. How do you feel about record sealing? How is Arizona approaching that? Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a topic of discussion for years in Arizona. Like, what can we do? And everybody thinks about the word expungement. And I run a criminal law practice now where people call and go, "Hey, I want to get my felony expunged." Right now, Arizona doesn't have an expungement. There's a prosecutor who I respect very much. Actually, one of us, an innovator, who says expungement is state-sponsored deception. And I go, what? He's like, it's the state saying you can hide something from people. He goes, I don't agree with that. And it was never really put to me like that. So I'm like, But what about this? How do we get people jobs? How do we reintegrate them into the community? So Arizona, we've kind of found a balance we're still working on stuff, but we have a couple things that we've done. 4 or 5 years ago now, we passed what was called a Certificate of Second Chances statute. And what that does, you actually get a certificate. If
Like
the
a physical copy.
Yeah, the courts don't want to use their printer ink, but they still give them a certificate. But if you meet certain criteria, you finish whatever sentence it may be, you've paid restitution, there's no victims that are out anything, and there's certain crimes, of course, that are excluded, you can apply for a certificate of second chance. And what that does, yeah, you get a piece of paper, it doesn't erase your record, doesn't expunge anything, but it releases employers, if you have that certificate and you apply for a job or you apply to rent an apartment, that landlord, that employer cannot be held liable for hiring this person or giving them a place to live just because they have a felony. They can't be negligent. It doesn't erase negligence and things like that. But we did a study in Arizona and some research, and that reduces their insurance policies, right? A lot of apartment complexes would say, we can't rent to former felons because I can't afford the insurance. So we did that to try to help insurance companies go, okay, well, we're not going to be liable for that. And the other thing it does, Title 32 in Arizona, is the occupational licensing statute or code. And it automatically, if you have a certificate, you aren't disqualified from getting an occupational license. A plumber, a hairdresser, frankly, cosmetology. You need a license in Arizona to blow dry someone's hair. Go figure. It releases that mark on you. Basically, I have a felony. I'm otherwise qualified to be a cosmetologist. The board cannot deny you a license just because you have a felony if you have that certificate. So it's helped, we hope, and it's still new, getting people back into the economy, giving them a job, giving them a place to work, giving them a place to live. That's what's important.
And maybe this is anecdotal, but how do you feel the response from employers in the business community has been to these certificates?
I think some of it is anecdotal, but pretty good. We had the Realtors Association, the Home Builders Association, a bunch of Chamber of Commerce type associations come support the bill because they're like, it was at a time too when they couldn't find people to work. I know a CEO of a mattress company like is pumping mattresses out in a manufacturer because I'll hire anybody. I can't get anybody to work. So it has been very much supported by the business community.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, well, thank you for joining me, Kurt. And if you would like to learn more about any of these initiatives, you can go to rightoncrime.com.